Cycling for me has never been about the bikes. They've only ever been the prerequisite tool. I do not see just a bike race, I see riders on heroic journeys and warriors doing battle. At one point, cycling was the most popular sport in Europe because newspapers told magnificent tales about epic races and crafted the great champions into legends. But with the advent of television, cycling lost some of its mystique, and that golden age of journalism and narration has perished. So now let us try to return some romance to the beautiful sport. Let us praise and give glory to phenomenal performances to be remembered for decades to come. Let us dwell on the moments that inspire and move us. Let us chronicle the rise and fall of heroes. Let us chart these life-changing journeys, these cycling odysseys. All right, welcome back to another episode of Cycling Odysseys. I'm your host, Patrick Santino. Okay, 11th hour to be coming out with this stuff week of, but that's the way it goes. I don't know what else to say. It was tight schedules, right? Like a train conductor. Anyways, I promised to cover the women's cyclocross, and I'm doing that. It's actually easier to cover women's cyclocross than it is the men's, because it's easier to cover women's cyclocross than it is to cover the women's road season, because the road season, it's like, man, that's a lot of, it's more commitment to, whereas women's cyclocross, it's like, I want to watch, more racing and stuff, and then it's like different, but it's still good. So anyways, this is a pretty fun one to write. I'm happy with how this came out. The next one's gonna be even better, I think, in my opinion. But yeah, let's jump into this. Let's start recapping it. It was pretty fun. Women's Cross Ketchup Part 1, the early season. Just as the men's, the women's cyclocross season began with the 3 American World Cups in mid-October. The fields were strong. The only headliner missing was Celine del Carmen Alvarado of Alpecin Phoenix. In her absence, would you believe it, Marianne Vos of Jumbo-Visma was in attendance, fresh off a podium finish at the inaugural Paris-Roubaix Femme only 1 week before. The GOAT of women's cycling, Marianne Vos, had not touched a cyclocross bike in 2 years. She had ridden a full road season, and yet she was debuting in these 3 American World Cups before taking a mini off-season. It was a head-scratcher why exactly she would attend these, most likely to recon and race the World Championships course in Arkansas, and perhaps maybe to score some points early in the World Cup series so that when she returned, she would not be at square one. Surely your guesses are as good as mine or better, but none of the reasoning why she was here mattered. All that mattered for Marianne Vos the GOAT, the Dutch cannibal, was that she had yet another opportunity to race and to win. And that is exactly what she did in Waterloo, Wisconsin. The fair testing Waterloo course was a great show and duel between Marianne Vos and the reigning world champion Lucinda Brown of the Belloise Trek Lions. During this race, I personally scouted out a triangle of spots to watch the riders pass and also have a view of the Jumbotron showing all the rest of the action. Funnily enough, a certain Sven Nys had the exact same idea as me. Standing next to Sven in a little 180-degree kink on the course that formed a peninsula for spectators like myself, the rider's momentum slowed just enough for Sven to communicate advice or information to his reigning world champion, Lucinda Brand. Alas, I have no gift of tongues, and I knew not what Dutch was coming from his mouth. But it seemed all for naught, for Brand could not find separation, and the race came down to a thrilling sprint that was won by Marianne Vos the GOAT. Midweek on the Wednesday, it was a rematch in Arkansas on what would be the World Championships course. With such elevation changes, only someone on the highest form and with the greatest lung capacity could win it. Thus, it made complete sense that it was Marianne Vos still riding out a peak of form from the late road season and the world champion Lucinda Brand that were dueling it out once again. Vos took an early lead. Brand chased her down, but still Vos seemed in control in the pouring rain until the last lap. But on that last lap, Marianne Vos completely bit it on one of the fast and sweeping turns, and that was it. The wipeout was comparable to downhill skiing. She was rattled and shaken up. It was impressive she still finished with a decent place. Vos sunk to fourth, Lucinda Brand took the victory. Paul Salzen's Denise Betsema took second, and it was the American champion in the Stars and Stripes, Cannondale's Clara Hansinger, that rounded out the podium. A favorable result ahead of home worlds come late January. The third American World Cup back north to Iowa City was yet another thriller. Marianne Vos took a big lead on the first lap, but that was by no means race over. For 3 hard laps, Denise Betsema chased down Marianne Vos the GOAT, and at the beginning of the 4th lap, Betsema caught Vos indeed. From there, Vos the Cannibal did not at all mentally fatigue or begin to fade as so many early breakaway riders do. She only ratcheted up her pace and worked even harder to drop Betsema again. The race went down to the last lap, but Marianne Vos was finally able to drop Betsema and win the day. Thus, Vos went into her offseason with already 2 cyclocross wins. All went back to Europe, and all besides Marianne Vos the GOAT resumed racing the very next weekend. The first weekend back in Europe, Denise Betsema capitalized on her second place in Iowa City to go back-to-back for the weekend, taking wins in Rudavoorde and on the famous Sandy Zonhoven. Full credit to Betsema. It was a top highlight of her career, but so dominant was she in both these races, there was little to report. The next weekend was more interesting at Overijse and the Koppenberg. The young Hungarian Katavas of Team SD Works threw down an excellent ride on the physically demanding and incredibly technical Overijse course. At only 20 years old, Katavas is one of the young up-and-coming stars. And funny enough, her top competition this day was from another youngster, 19-year-old rising star Puck Peters of Alpecin Phoenix, who most notably has the best barrier bunny hopping skills of the entire women's cyclocross peloton. It was a good duel between the two of them. Not exceptional, but good. Both youngsters were increasing their fame and prestige with such rides as they held off the likes of Lucinda Brand, Denise Betsema, and Clara Hansinger behind. But only one of them could win, and in the end, it was Katavas, the Hungarian champion, who took the victory. The next day was the World War I level muddy Koppenberg Cross, and the theme of rising stars continued. The youngster Katavas was somewhat in the mix again, but it was a duel up front between the young 24-year-old American champion Clara Hansinger and the seasoned veteran still riding out the great form of recent weeks, Denise Betsema. And the weekend of youngsters continued. Young Hansinger took the victory, and surely this ended a who-knows-how-long streak of cross weekends where a Belgian or Dutch woman took at least one victory. And now it is time for a bit of heart-to-heart honesty. There have been many years where week in and week out, the women's cyclocross season has been much more thrilling than the men's. For whole seasons, Mathieu van der Poel, the mighty ace, would have his way with the races, and the few exciting ones were the exceptions that proved the rule. Well, this year was a reverse of this formula. It was the women's races that proved early, done-and-dusted deals, and the exciting ones were exceptions that proved the rule. And starting with the European Championships on the Dutch Col du Vam, the season was predominantly dominated by one certain woman, a certain world champion, Lucinda Brand. She won the hilly Col du Vam Euros to earn the blue stripes and golden stars to complement her rainbow jersey. She won 4 days later at the technical and muddy Jarmacher Cross. And she won 4 days after this at the World Cup in Tabor that was flying like a grass track and flat crit that day. 3 supremely diverse wins in a row, ranging from solidly to easily won. Lucinda Brand won in Marksplas, but only managed third in Sandy Cockside the next day. Then again, what did it matter, as she easily won the next weekend back-to-back at the Irvine Cross and the World Cup at Besançon, and even at Boom the week after that. Respite from the Lucinda Brand domination only let up the next week at Val de Soleil because Lucinda Brand and the entire Belloise Trek Lions team skipped the race to have a down week or squeeze in a hard block of training. Alas, alas, for Lucinda Brand, the world champion, missed partaking in a phenomenal race and cyclocross's showcase presentation for Winter Olympic glory. Okay, that was part one of three Ketchup parts, and then there will be a preview, obviously. Anyways, I don't know. One thing that I did realize as I wrote these up, and I did that this weekend. Yeah, this weekend. Lucinda Brand, great rider, well earned, all the victories and everything, but she's a little too dominant. I don't know. Those wins just aren't as exciting. I mean, it really is like that was the holdup to Mathieu van der Poel joining the club for so many years, just because I mean his cyclocross wins, some of those are just god awful boring. And Lucinda Brand, she's not as dominant, and some of her wins are pretty well fought for and exciting, but sometimes she just wins and it's like, all right, well, we've seen this a million times. Come on, can we get a new storyline going? Again, I really love watching Marianne Vos, though. That's where I'm inconsistent, I guess. So anyways, that was that episode. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Follow me on Cycling Odysseys. Find the blog post, cyclingodysseys.com. Subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it. And then leave comments, reviews. Anything good, I'll share with the audience. Thank you for listening, everybody. Vive le cyclisme.